Welcome to another episode of Bringing Down the Grindhouse, and today we're doing something a little different. We're talking about some romantic comedies, actually. Right, John?
Yes, exactly. And so we wanted to try something a little bit different just so that we're not consistently with horror all the time. And so we went to some romantic comedies that we both really like. We went with When Harry Met Sally, which is one of my favorite romantic comedies, which Mitch had not seen up until, last night?
Last night. I'm really, I kind of kicking myself a little bit about it because it's a really good movie.
Yeah. It has Billy Crystal.
The thing is, I think that might be the first movie of his I've actually watched.
What? Yeah, well, okay, have you seen The Princess Bride?
Oh, yeah, I have seen that one.
Yeah, he's the old dude. He's
when the mostly dead guy?
They go and visit the old couple.
Yeah, he's the guy who's he's not all dead, he's mostly dead, that guy. Okay, gotcha.
Yes,
that's Billy Crystal.
Exactly.
The makeup really changes him.
Yeah, they've made him look really old.
Yeah, they really, So we wouldn't even know. The voice is what gives it away the most.
Right.
For me. So cool. I do know this Billy Crystal then. I do.
Right. Well, everybody knows us. I'm Jonathan. I'm one of the main co-hosts. I'm with Mitch as always. I think you've been on the last 4? I think. You've been on every. You've been all of them.
All of them except for the first one.
That's right. I did the first one with one of my other buddies, but we've been doing really well with coming back and talking about these. And then last night we were trying to figure out if we wanted to go with the original plan, but then I was like, let's try something different because we can do analysis.
I mean, this just sounds like a fun break for me anyway from the from the monotony of horror can be really end on a down note a lot of the times and whatnot, and sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of brightness.
Unless you go into the Evil Dead and Army of Darkness.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's more fun and slapsticky and goofy, and that's always great. You can always enjoy those parts.
I'm itching to do Krampus and Jack Frost and all of that.
Oh yeah, a Christmas episode. Would be awesome.
Christmas one, we're definitely gonna do a Christmas horror episode where we do a horror comedy.
Dude, we should do a Thanksgiving one. What Thanksgiving horror movie? The garbage ones that are bad.
What's around Thanksgiving that's a horror film?
I don't know
if there's any.
One's Turkey Day or something where the turkey murders the family or some nonsense. I'm so down. Let's rock.
Did you ever see? So in between, I think it was the Grindhouse feature from Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez. He had the fake trailers in between them, and one of them was a murder on Thanksgiving.
Oh, what?
That they never made, but one of the movies they did make was Machete. Well, they made that one into a real movie because people loved the idea so much.
Machete's awesome too.
Yeah,
it's fun.
It's so bad, but it's it's so much fun to watch.
But that's the point, though.
Yeah,
it's not supposed to be
He knew
good.
what he was doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully they'll do something in regards to the Thanksgiving killer. It'd be hilarious if it was the turkey coming to life. Then it's just what is it? The Zombie Beavers movie. It's these
Zombievers.
Yeah. There's always some wild concept. I want to know what the pitching room is for these, when they go in and they're like, okay, I want to make a horror movie. And they're like, okay, give us the idea. And then somebody literally sat at a fucking table and was like, zombie beavers. Yes, fuck yeah. Greenlit.
This script sounds marketable.
And just let it go.
And let's rock. Let's see maybe this is something the world didn't know they were ready for.
Right.
Yeah. What was the other movie we were gonna talk about today? Also that we watched was Chasing Amy.
Yes,
one of my favorites.
So how did you come across Chasing Amy? Why did you want to talk about this one?
I loved Clerks.
Okay.
At first, so Clerks is another one of my favorite comedy movies, definitely. And it's written and directed by Kevin Smith. A lot of people know who he is. He's that stoner director kind of guy who has all of that toilet humor in his stuff all the time and whatnot, and which is fine. I love that stuff. I love really crass 90s humor like that sometimes. And so
was
this movie I heard about though was related. It was one of his other ones, and it was I remember it being. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna watch Chasing Amy. Maybe it'll be really funny. And I don't think I understood some of the jokes and stuff when I first saw it either.
Oh, okay.
And whatnot. So some of it I didn't get. Some of it I thought was really funny. And I had a really strange opinion on the movie and whatnot. And I think that my views on it have changed the more I've observed film and the more that I've just more movies and being more critical about them.
Right. He added in a lot of extra layers into the movie that weren't originally unpacked for a lot of people, just because they knew who he was and they expected a certain kind of humor, and that was kind of it. Mm-hmm. And they didn't really look at anything else in it. But he handles a lot of stuff in that movie in regards to like relationships through friends, relationships as far as like your sexuality being different. And so like what's the premise of that movie? Like what happens?
In Chasing Amy, it starts off with Holden and Banky.
Yeah.
Holden and Banky, they're both comic book writers. It's I think it's Jason Lee and Ben Affleck that are the main characters for that one. And then I'm trying to remember the character Alyssa's name because she's important. But basically, it's these two comic book writers. They meet this girl named Alyssa. Holden, Ben Affleck's character, really interested in her because she's pretty interesting as a person. Like when they first meet her, she's pretty like she's witty. She's got she's fun. She seems like a fun person.
She's also another comic artist.
Yeah,
so like
there's
still
also
in the same world.
Yeah, so there's still exactly. They have that relationship immediately, and so they agree to go to a bar and whatnot. And basically, he finds out that Alyssa is into women. Is a lesbian for the purposes of his knowledge at that point in the movie.
Right. He kind of like assumes after like hearing certain bits about her personality and what she tells him to. So he's like, oh, she's a lesbian, and then doesn't know how to respond for a second.
Yeah.
But he's still super interested.
Yeah. He's Holden's character is the super vanilla. He's a very, very vanilla like individual. Like he's super conservative in his ideas of what relationships are and how they should be. And he's very like unexperienced in that realm, which is where a lot of his insecurities come into play later in the movie when his relationship with Alyssa like actually flourishes a little bit. And then he learns about her past. So it's basically like him falling in love with her. They have this like kind of like strange relationship, but they eventually come together, learn that she essentially abandoned men at one point because she had very bad experiences with them. And so she left that and then decided like, oh, maybe women will be a better place for me. Maybe that's a better place for me because she's bisexual. Yeah. So to her it's a matter of finding that person that suits her life rather than finding what she believes that people exist in a singular bubble instead of separated, so that she should find a person that complements her, not a man that complements her, or specifically a woman that complements her. Right. It should be a person that complements her, and that's her philosophy. Holden doesn't fucking understand that.
Yeah, and he's pushy.
Yeah, he's immature. He's super immature. And like the whole movie like focuses on like his immaturity and his inability to deal with that. And there's the scene where Kevin Smith's Silent Bob character explains the Chasing Amy story, where he basically couldn't understand why she had like all these sexual experiences in her past, but she's different now, and he felt that he couldn't match up with her past. And it's weird. Some people might not be able to connect with this message. And I don't think that I fully connect with it either, but I think it's an interesting study. And I've known people who have had those types of thoughts and how they like view things like that. So
so he pretty much he assumes, or because of what she's told him at that point, that he's like the first person to have sex with her, right?
Yeah, he also does believe that he's like the first man she's ever with, and he like won her over somehow. Yeah, or some nonsense, and then he hears about her past and how she was quite promiscuous, I suppose is the word I guess you would say. I don't know. She slept with a lot of people. Well, is really the whole deal. And
his like friend like kind of discovers some information about her where she had like
she's called finger cuffs. That's the
her nickname that she was given after. I think she had a threesome, and then she had multiple sex partners. So he was like upset about that afterwards, and then tries to get her to like confess it. But then she sort of explains. It's like a really like teary-eyed moment.
It's a really sad moment because she's trying to say like, I'm not that person anymore. I'm not into that anymore. I'm a different person. I love you because of who you are, and all of this is inconsequential to our relationship, and he just cannot fucking let it go.
She did a lot though in that moment. It was weird. I think that was where I was watching it, and then I was feeling a little odd about it because she was putting in so much work to make sure that their relationship worked, and that like he was cool with what had happened before. But it also was like, it was a lot of commentary about how people feel in relationships in regards to like what did like your exes do like with you, and like you want to be better than them essentially. And so he wanted to be like you mentioned earlier, he wanted to be the best person. He like won her over in this moment. And then because he thinks she's like super cool, so he was like, yeah, I got like we're together, and then this throws a whole like wrench in his plan.
Yeah, once he hears about that, and I don't think that his intentions are malicious.
No,
I feel like it's a lot of ignorance and immaturity from the character, and a lot of that is shown in the movie later, where he like he makes the little comic apology to her at the end, where he basically just says like, I still have a lot to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's basically it. Like, and it also plays his maturity. He freaks out in the end because there's the really odd scene that a lot of people in the movie don't seem to get, which is at the very end where he offers to have a 3-way with his best friend and Alyssa.
Yeah.
In order to match up with her, and that's literally him breaking down and going into chaotic control, fix everything mode, and it's sort of like his Hail Mary. Is basically what it is, and it just blows up in his face though.
Yeah,
she
like,
slaps him, walks out, says, "I'm not your whore." His friend's like, "You're fucking weird. I'm leaving now." Like, I'm not
right.
And and you honestly feel really, you kind of feel bad for Holden and Banky's relationship in the end there too, because their friendship crumbles because of this as well.
Yeah, because they're so close.
Yeah, exactly, and they are really close. Despite the fact that they're also very different people. Also,
right. Well, I mean, for like a brief moment, Alyssa and Holden become really good friends. Like they get close and like make an actual connection. And then I think trying to navigate what that meant to both of them is where things kind of fell apart, because he sort of, I think, wanted more from her and like wanted specifically to be like in a romantic, like sexual relationship with
which
her.
Is what she wanted to. They both wanted that, and it's just that, but the thing is he just doesn't feel like he's adequate or that he's on her level sort of deal. And so because he's never had those experiences and he can't imagine why she would do that to herself and subject herself that way. Because it's like now he's like, how could I love the person who would do this to themselves in the past? Because now they're not totally this like, I think Hooper X makes a really good point about it. The character in the movie makes a good point about it, where he says basically like, every man believes that there's like that everything they've done with a woman is the first time they've ever done it with them. That there's nothing like, you know what I mean? Just face it. There's nothing new under the sun. Everything that you think you've done has already been done there before.
Yep.
Sort of deal. And so, and he doesn't even learn it then. He doesn't learn the lesson. Sometimes you need to be punished before you learn the lesson. I
mean, I did like how they ended it. It wasn't like a nice, happy fairy tale ending. They do not end up together. She ends up with her girlfriend. And like, you
she doesn't even, I don't think they don't even imply she's with anyone. She just lives her life.
Well, I mean, like, sort of. At the end, like she walks up to her and is just like, who are you chatting with? And then she's like, oh, just like somebody I used to know. And then but we know, like, it's like dramatic irony. Like we know exactly who he is.
When something else that also explored a little bit on the realms of like sexuality and things like that is when she tells her whole, like her gal pal group that she's like, doing like drinking their wine and hanging out and doing their like, I can't remember. I think they're doing like letters and stuff. But they're doing some project. I don't remember what it is exactly. But and she says that, oh yeah, they're like, who you've been shacking up with? Yeah, what dyke you getting down with? That's what they're saying, because she's been seeing someone, but she plays the pronoun game. She's like, oh, them, they, I'm hanging out with them, I'm hanging out with them. Yeah. And they're just like, why are you doing that? And she's like, well, his name's Holden. And when she admits to them that she's dating a man, they all turn on her, kind of.
Yeah, that's interesting that they decided to do that.
And that was an interesting bit to like, and it kind of like speaks to like the thing that sometimes even like the group you hold close isn't going to always approve of what you do, despite, you know what I mean? The fact that there's always going to be those outliers judging your relationships.
I mean, it is a good thing that they showed part of that, where it's like, you're gonna have a moment with any of your close friends where like they're not gonna agree with something that you've done or that you're doing, and then they're gonna, how they handle that situation usually is pretty reflective of like what kind of relationship you've established with them. In their case, I don't think they were like super mean, but they were like, but you like told us that you decided that you weren't gonna see men anymore. And so they were like kind of confused, like, how did this happen?
Yeah, like, why are you? Yeah, and then like, but one of her friends like pours the wine and says, another one bites the dust, as if she somehow is no longer part of their clique now because she's like, you know what I mean? And even then, that's kind of an immaturity thing on their part too. Yeah, that kind of shows that they're kind of a little bit judgy and kind of like messed up. You know what I mean? Like, why would you expect that? But I mean, at the same time, they're not totally mean. She does end up hanging out with them again. Yeah, so it's not like they abandon her, right? But she gets a couple judgy stares, and I can just imagine that's kind of like, that must really suck for that character anyway.
Do you think the writer spent a good amount of time talking about like male relationships, like guy best friends, basically?
I feel like a lot of Kevin Smith's movies in general deal with different types of fears. Oh, okay. Such as like this one can be like the fear of inadequacy. Oh, not being enough. You can look at Clerks as the fear of falling behind your peers.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So
Mallrats is like That's a different one. That's a different one entirely.
You mentioned you mentioned before we started recording that like his movies are kind of connected, right?
Yeah. They're all part of that View Askew universe.
So what's
deal.
that? Go ahead.
So View Askew, I think, was his production company, like earlier on before.
Yeah.
I don't know if he might still do it. I'd have to do a little bit more research. But basically, like Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Clerks 2, Jersey Girl, are all part of like the same universe. So they in those movies they reference characters from other movies in them and things like that.
They do.
In Chasing Amy, they reference Kerr. She's like, my best friend fucked a dead guy in the bathroom at the Quick Stop, like that. Because
oh my god,
yeah, at the end of Clerks,
yes,
yeah, friend fucks the dead guy in the bathroom on accident, thinking that it's her boyfriend.
On accident. Holy shit, I forgot about that. Oh my
Dude,
god.
it's funny. That was a funny one because the guy walks into the store and he's just like, I need a magazine. You know, I want the big titties on them. I need that. And he's like, here you go. Fine.
And he's like, you fucking weirdo.
Yeah, and he goes to the bathroom and then you never see him again.
Yeah, that's right. Holy shit.
And the next thing you see is him on it is like a stretcher with like a body that's clearly erect and it's just being put onto it.
Dang, those are weird movies. Now I think about it.
Yeah, dude, no, Kevin Smith he's wacky.
Wait,
sometimes.
so it wasn't Kevin Smith? Didn't he have some health problems not too long ago?
Dude, he's been on like honestly, dude, he's lost a whole bunch of weight, man. He was really fat for a while, and dude, he's lost so much weight.
Yeah, I saw him recently.
Yeah, he's like in his interviews and stuff, he looks like he's super healthy. I know he smokes a lot of weed now, and he's got kids, and he's doing great. You know what I mean? He's he's doing his good. He had a whole bunch of things with Jason Mewes, who plays Jay.
Yeah,
is one of his really good friends, and Jay actually had, if I'm not mistaken, if the history's correct, Jay had some heroin problems or some drug issues, and Kevin Smith actually, like, if I'm not mistaken, like helped fund or helped him through like the rehab process.
Yeah, he did.
And whatnot, and helped him stay there and keep him in his movies and stuff. Basically, kept him employed and helped him literally helped him through it.
That's legit.
I mean, Kevin Smith's one of those guys who like sold his entire comic collection to make Clerks.
Yeah,
he sold his whole comic collection to make Clerks, and it was like only like a $3,000 budget, I think.
It was super low.
Yeah, it's crazy low.
Well, even like this movie, Chasing Amy, had like $250,000 for the budget.
Yeah,
and it made like $12 million.
Yeah,
it's like that's a crazy amount of money to make back on something. So he was probably sitting on a lot of cash for a good while, and that's how he was able to like make his future productions.
Oh, very true.
And then like focus on other things that he was doing. So that was cool. Shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So for the movie, you mentioned that it was dealing with feelings of inadequacy. So like, do you think it touched on anything else?
I think that's like the main, like the umbrella scope of it. But I seriously think that it touches a little bit on race and how sexuality and race are like combined in like and how they're viewed. Like the Hooper X character is a gay black man.
Yes.
He is like, as he says it himself, I am a minority of a minority. Nobody's helping my ass.
But he's like, but he puts on a persona, right?
He does put on a persona. That's the interesting bit too. So I think, so it's like you also kind of wonder, like, is he truly like, you know, but I think that in reality, like, I can't, the character's not a real person. So I don't really know, but it is a persona that he puts on. The Hooper X persona that he puts on is like
it's like a Black Panther style.
Yeah, he tries to do like the Black Panther thing. He tries to create that image, you know. And I would imagine that as a person, he tries to sell like that masculinity.
Yeah,
that's what he's trying to sell. And so, and if he sells that, then he feels people will buy into it more, et cetera, et cetera. And so, and that's why. So it's part of him having to mask his sexuality and how he actually is as a person to gain. So it discusses that, and it discusses a lot. Yeah. I think it's mostly going to be a sexuality discussion a lot of the time,
right?
For the most part, he touches down on the race thing a little bit, on the race subject.
It probably wasn't like main thing on his radar.
But I feel like Smith would be one of those guys that'd be like, that's not really my place to make commentary like that, you know, sort of deal. So instead of, he'll just make some funny things and have Hooper talk about how Star Wars is actually racist, and
I mean,
which is super funny. It's super funny, like, and he's not. His argument's pretty damn good.
His whole bit there is really, really funny.
Yeah.
Also, side note about that movie, did you notice that Lando Calrissian at one point wears like Han Solo's clothes? I'm so serious. So when they're when they're on the ship, when they're on the Millennium Falcon, Lando walks up to the front and he's wearing Han's clothes.
Oh my god, that's so
and it's
funny.
so weird because you're like, wait, when did he get these? Like, did he just go into his closet and put them on? And it was just really awkward. But like, they don't reference it at all. The only time you ever see something referenced is a joke that Family Guy does on their version of it, where Brian addresses it directly. He's like, "Are you wearing Han's clothes?" And like looks over to him and he's like, "Oh yeah, like I found, they're in the closet." And it's just so weird. And then I went back and looked at the movie and he totally is. And it was
I'll have to go back. Is it like which one? This is what Empire?
Yes.
Okay, I'll have to.
Yeah.
I'll watch it again just to
like
see the
basically
change.
when he like has remorse over like giving them over and then like tries to help them and then goes with them on the Millennium Falcon.
He's wearing Han's clothes.
Yeah,
It's super funny.
I don't know why he changes because he has like the coolest clothes. So it was like he just changes into his clothes. It was super weird.
Yeah,
that was a funny side note for that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
But also his argument's kind of funny too. Well, it's interesting and in some ways like that's pretty true about like George Lucas didn't really. I don't think he really thought and wrote in more people of color for that.
Well, I mean, it's
which
like,
is kind of odd.
I mean, yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, but then again, it's also Star Wars was what 70s.
Yeah, but like you had Star Trek doing that, like
Yeah, no, yeah, I know, you got Star. But I mean, but we're talking different. I don't know what Star Trek's writers' room was looking like for that show.
Because whereas
Lucas
writer.
is soul all by himself. So if you're gonna have an old white dude writing a movie, he's gonna go. What his base experience is interacting with other white people and having a cast that's for the most part white people.
Star Trek broke so many records during that
Oh
time.
yeah, no, it totally did. Absolutely.
So
no, it was crazy during that time for sure. And I think that's where a lot of that comes from. That's where you get a lot of that stuff is because a lot of stuff is written by white people. And so you're going to get characters that are interpreted as white. And then now we're seeing a shift where I think writers are like a younger generation of writers that are growing up with a much more diverse society. We are more diverse now, I would argue. So we have a lot more writers. Like I just watched Into the Spider-Verse.
Hell yeah.
Fuck yes, the movie's so good.
That was such a good
I want
movie.
an actual noir Spider-Man.
Fucking Jack Nicholson? No, Nicolas Cage.
Is that who did the voice for him?
For noir
really?
Spider-Man?
Was that Nicolas Cage? Oh, that's so
it's Nicolas
funny.
Cage.
Oh my god. I just remember there's the scene where he puts his hat on the guy and then punches him and puts the hat back on.
Yeah.
I loved that movie so much, though. I loved it. I loved how I really liked how diverse the cast was and whatnot, and that was really cool. And the thing is, it didn't even like. It's good that there's a diverse cast there for the representation aspect of things. But the thing is, the characters were so well fleshed out and so well written that it didn't matter. Like it didn't matter. They could have all just been like outlines of the characters, and I still would have like.
It wasn't it wasn't written to be like fan service. Like
exactly.
They made it so that it seemed very much like the norm, and like it made sense for where they're living. They're in the Bronx. They're in New York.
Yeah.
So it's like
exactly. It made absolute sense. So no, it was really good. I really appreciated that movie a lot. I just thought the storytelling was great, and Miles's his backstory, like how they altered his Spider-Man backstory was fucking cool.
Hell yeah.
I really liked that there's like the celebrity Spider-Man that he sees die, and then you're just like, what? And then like, how is his story gonna play out? And then I'm just like, I did not see the brother being the Prowler. I did not see that until it happened, and I'm just like, whoa, like holy shit, right? Like
audible gasp.
Right? Yeah, no, really. And then you're like, oh, and that's his Uncle Ben.
Yep.
That's how his Uncle Ben dies. That's his Uncle Ben's story.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Yeah, that's
freaking the fuck out. Yeah. Freaking out. I was freaking out.
I was a huge fan of the revisioning of Doc Ock.
Oh, awesome. Yes, absolutely.
She's so badass.
So fucking cool.
Like, really, really smart. Is able to, like, she was just on it. She was hunting him, like, all the way to the end, like, ruthlessly. Like, she was so good at what she was doing.
There were no punches pulled on
I don't know why I didn't expect it to be her.
Like, I know I did not expect it to be.
I was watching
she doesn't have the things at first,
and then they just pop out of nowhere, and you're like, "Oh shit, this is Doc Ock!" And then I was super stoked on it when I was watching.
Oh yeah, no, because you don't even know. Oh man, and then Scorpion shows up, like all of them. I love all the little alternate Spider-Man that are really funny, and it's a very good movie. But anyway, why did you pick When Harry Met Sally?
Man, I feel like it's a little bit of a longer story. So I originally watched When Harry Met Sally when I was like 19 or 20, I think. Yeah, I was like 19 or 20, and the girlfriend I had at that time, it was actually her favorite movie. And so she showed me this movie. And I hated romantic comedies up until that point. So I was like, nah, I don't want to watch this dumb movie. But I didn't know much about Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan up until that point. And so we watched it, and we watched that movie excessively, like over and over and over again. And then as I watched it more, like repeated watches, it became like a really, really good movie. And I was like, okay. And then I got to see like every single frame over and over and over again. So like small details that they had in it and every single word. And so I eventually came to really, really like it because it was almost more realistic for like how you might end up meeting people and how you may it may not work. Like you'll end up being friends or you may not being friends. Like even their conversation at the beginning where he's like, men can't be friends with women without wanting to have sex with them is like his main argument. And so she's like, well, then I guess we're like never going to be friends. And so like at first when they get the ride together, that's when they decide like, you know what, we're not going to be friends. And then like they don't see each other for years and it keeps happening that way. But then I didn't watch it for a couple years. I didn't watch it because I was like I guess emotionally distressed over it being connected to my ex-girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't watch it. And then I rewatched it again a couple years ago. I'm like, yeah, this is such a good movie. And then it turned into something different. Like it turned into something completely different. And then I got super sappy about it and was like, this is like the love story that needs to happen. Like this is it. And so I was watching it and like, because at the end they do end up together. And like, it's because of them trying really hard at what they were doing. And then I remember watching and getting super emotional over it. Even watching it recently, I'll still like cry about it. Oh, because it's like, oh, this is such a good like love story, the way it plays out. And then I couldn't think of any other people to fit into the roles for Billy Crystal's character,
right? It's like they
for Meg Ryan.
They fit it so perfectly.
Well, Meg Ryan was like the idol of the time for romantic comedies. Like she was in so many movies. Like she was in like Sleepless in Seattle, which was released like not that much longer after that, which is like just another like heart-wrenching love story where they're like trying to figure it out. But what I liked the most about it was how they showed that they developed a really strong friendship before they sort of moved forward. Mm-hmm. And like they even tried to support each other in dating other people. Yeah. Which is like, I'm sure that's happened with people where they're like, okay, we're not going to be together. Maybe like we can still be friends.
I've known tons of times where, I mean, it's happened in my own life where there's been like someone in my life who's dating somebody else, you know, and I've always just been, that's cool. I'm just like, yeah, you should go ahead and do that. And then one day I end up being with that person somehow, you know, and you know, and you don't even, it's not something you expect.
Right.
You know, and it's
you
like,
already know the person too.
Yeah. And those characters like Harry and Sally in the movie don't even expect that to happen.
No, they're like in the middle of the film, they're pretty set about that they're not going to be together. And so they end up telling each other like everything about their dating lives. They have like nightly phone calls, which is like, that's like the only way you could talk to people like within the time period it was set in, because there's like no texting. So it was like just landlines. You would call somebody. There's no cell phone. So like every night they got home, they would call each other up and like tell each other about the day, or they'd be watching something. And that like, I think that idea was taken and used in so many other pieces. Like so many other like TV shows and movies where they're like had that phone call, that nightly phone call. Mm-hmm. And then some of them, I feel like some movies like parodied that where they're like, well, what are you doing now?
Yeah.
Now? And like they would keep doing that over and over again. But for them, for the way that it was written, it seemed like it got really personal for them in like a platonic friendship, which was cool to see.
Yeah, I know, it's very cool to see that, to see those things spark, because that's where you, I mean, maybe I've been trying to figure out what is like the sole moral of this movie, and part of it I think is that like openness is what really creates the foundation for a successful relationship.
Yeah,
is like openness, really being open with the other person.
They also had to like, they sort of had to go through some changes. Like the characters go through a lot of development, and I think a clever way they did the development was through separating their relationship by years. What I saw in the movie was these characters not be the same person they were when the film started. So when it starts, they're younger. They even like dress them differently, and like they have different experiences. And then they even have Harry's character revisit that idea of like, can he actually be friends with her without wanting to have sex with her? And he does. He does become her friend for a good while. But then he realizes after dating other people that the reason why he wanted to be around her so much was because they already developed that close friendship. And then for him, what made sense was that next step into being in a relationship. And so for them, but it never matched up, not until like the very, very end when they knew that they wanted to see each other. And then it happens on New Year's. Like like turn of the year, and this is like sort of the turn of their friendship into a romantic relationship.
Oh, it's at the turn of the year, and it's a turn at the.
Yeah, so like it was very.
I never connected that.
That's very
really,
broad strokes.
That's
of
very
that.
That's painted very well.
Right. And so that's
what
they decided to do for that. It was good, and also this has one of those lines that people may not know where it came from. The line where it's like, "Oh, I'll have what she's having," which is like people know that line, but they don't know where it might have come from. And it's because he said he'll know when a woman is faking an orgasm. He's like, "Oh, I'll know," and so she's like, "Oh, really?" And they're in the middle of a cafe, and she fakes an orgasm in the middle of the cafe. And then when she's done, the lady next to her is like, "I'll have what she's having," and it's such a great scene.
I think I wanted to make one more point before you fin about the how they showed the change in characters. It's represented in how they talk. It's represented in how they dress, and then it's also represented in one particular line where they discuss the movie Casablanca.
Oh,
and they
dang!
discuss the end of
I
Casablanca.
forgot about that.
And how I do not remember the characters that they reference, but she changes her opinion, and he points that out to her, and that's a way of showing that she as a character changes her viewpoint like significantly because she thinks totally different about the other character and her idea of what love is. At first, she's kind of like, I want security. I want security. That's what I want. I want security, and I don't really care if I like the guy or not. It was sort of the idea.
Right.
It was what I was gathering, and then she changes to the other side where I'd rather just have the guy who has a bar and loves me. And so she changes the opinion totally, which sets her up to be more compatible with Billy Crystal's Harry's character.
Yeah.
Not like it just like in the interest of the plot, it sets it up.
Well, they both have their own beliefs at the beginning that they then have to like face and challenge, and then they kind of challenge it with each other, and then they do eventually decide that they are going to be together. So in a way, like this is slightly different from the other movie because they don't end up together. Whereas in this one, through all of like their friendship and like not talking to each other, they do end up together. But I mean, don't get me wrong, like it's super melodramatic. Like he runs over to the building where she's at in a party, in a New Year's Eve party, and like runs up to the top and tells her he has to like tell her that he loves her, and then they have a brief moment where she's like, no, like it isn't gonna work.
There's an interesting bit of if we want to talk about melodrama and we want to compare the two movies and how they do it, because you're doing this is like his big moment where he has his whole speech where he's like, I love you.
Right.
We should be together. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then it works, and that's fine. That's fine.
It totally works.
I think the buildup is done well enough, and we've learned about enough that's not as cheesy.
You're right.
It's like, this was how it's supposed to be. Whereas in Chasing Amy, there's Holden's monologue that he does to her where he confesses his love, and it's this long, really honest, like pretty damn good, like profession of his love. It's also crazy sounding, right? And then at the end, he's just like, when she gets out of the car, she's freaked the fuck out by what he just said, and he's just like, was it something I said?
Right? Yeah, yeah.
But it's like, but even in that moment, but it's totally polar opposite views on like how things like that work and whatnot as well. Like definitely taking like the romantic, and it's like, because it's like with them, it's like a struggling to fight. They're in both of them, they're struggling, but like in one, it's like they're fighting for each other in the case of Chasing Amy, whereas the other one, they're like flowing into each other's lives, interacting, and then flowing out and coming back in again.
I feel like that happens a lot, and so it was a good representation of that. Like I'm sure there's like a lot of people who have like originally when they met someone, they were probably friends for a bit, and then they didn't talk for a while, and then they meet him again, and then like they're in a different like place in their life, so they're like, oh, maybe like we can date, and then maybe they do date, and then they don't, and then people who break up and then come back together after so many years. So it was like, that happens. Like that's a real thing that happens in life, and so to see it kind of play out and to see it all condensed into the movie as opposed to like having to watch it say over like a show, because like I think TV shows are what take the longest with these things. Like a good example is like Friends, like however long it takes for what's Rachel and
Ross's character?
Yeah, for them to like
they
decide.
like break up over and over again and whatnot. And it's also
like,
kind of like, it's just kind of
it's exhausting.
Like after like, oh man, like all right, I'm one of those people that actually likes Friends.
I fucking hate Friends. So.
All right, so I'm one of those people that actually likes Friends and likes a few sitcoms. I feel like Friends was like the end of a good sitcom era. Like after Friends, sitcoms just were not as good after that. Like they just weren't on the same level. I don't think. I think they got a lot sameier. You got stuff like How I Met Your Mother is just Friends.
I don't like
and you don't even have to like it. It's just,
but it is.
But it's a ripoff of an old show. That's it.
And
it's just the same crap they're peddling now. And like because it used to be when you were an actor, you'd be like, go get in a sitcom. You'll get really big after you do a sitcom sort of deal. And now it's not so much of a thing because people don't give a shit what's going on. It's the same character arcs going on over and over again and whatnot for it. And but I actually the reason why I like Friends is because the characters actually develop over the course of the show. That's the one interesting thing about it. The characters actually, their lives actually do change, and as people they do alter a little bit, which is contrary to other shows where the characters don't really change at all. I would love to go back and talk about sitcoms like Cheers, where like all of the characters have drastically different characters later on in the show and whatnot. And kind of with Frasier too, but that's I'm getting off topic now, but yes.
Well, no, they're related because at some point TV shows, movies, especially if they're going to be in like the comedy or romantic comedy section or situational comedy, they almost always have to deal with relationships.
Mm-hmm. Like, there's always going to be
either with one person or with all of them. In the case of Friends, I think every single one of them gets into a relationship,
except for Joey and Phoebe. They're the ones that never have.
Well, not with each other. I mean,
nope. They don't even. Nope. Joey doesn't get with any of the girls that are in the group.
Yeah, because he's considered to be like the Bachelor. Like he always kind of remains single.
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal is. I haven't watched enough of it to know.
Ask me questions. I'll answer them.
Right. Oh, so what's up with Phoebe? Like, is she always remains the single character?
Phoebe has boyfriends.
Oh, okay.
She dates like a guy from MIT.
So it's just Joey then.
It's just Joey. Joey's the only guy that really remains single in like the whole thing. But even then, it's like he's just kind of like, but like whereas Chandler and Ross.
Right.
Funny note, Chandler was originally supposed to be a gay character.
Yeah, they changed up his persona like within the first few episodes.
Yep, which is funny because a lot of his lines and whatnot seem like a gay character could say some of them sometimes and whatnot, so they're still in there.
I've seen enough of that where people are discussing it, where they're like, maybe they just kept some of the undertones for it, but like it wasn't the right time period to be making.
It's just kind of eh.
Yeah.
It's sort of like I with that type of stuff. Like I'm not watching Friends because I want like deep social critic commentary. I'm watching Friends for something on in the background.
That's fair.
I would love to bring up Cheers though, because Cheers has the Sam and Diane chemistry, which can be sort of similar to our Harry Met Sally situation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Sam and Diane are basically like, you've got Diane, who's this super like well-educated individual, comes from like it's like liberal arts and science and poetry and reading and plays, and she's just, if Frasier was a woman, like
Frasier was a woman.
Frasier was a woman. There you go. And so she rolls into this bar, gets done. Like the first episode is she rolls into a bar waiting for her fiance to come take her because they're going off on a journey to get married, and then it all fucks up.
Yeah, it all falls apart.
Yeah, exactly. And so then she ends up working at Sam's bar. Sam is ex-pitcher.
Yep.
For the Red Sox, I think was his deal.
Yeah,
he was
one
a pitcher
of the
for the Red
local
Sox.
ones.
Yeah, he was an alcoholic.
Yep.
And then his deal is that he was drunk and he bought a bar, and that's
just
what made him
running
stop. Well, and that's what made him stop drinking also.
Yeah. Well, because I think he mentions that like he just started hearing about people's lives because like they would come and tell him about everything that was going on with them, and then like felt that like connection with people and was like, I need to keep doing this. Like this is what I'm gonna do, and then like continues to do that through the whole show. It's a good show. I agree.
Cheers is super good. It's like I love Coach. Coach is one of my favorites. He like dies after season 3,
right?
But like I don't care. He's one of my. He has all that really old man humor, and then fucking Andy Warhol is Woody. Woody Harrelson is in Cheers later. He takes Coach's position in that one.
It's like fuck Andy Warhol. No,
not Andy. I don't know why I said Andy Warhol.
I was just joking around because we like
it's Woody Harrelson.
Only because we like dug into him last.
Yeah. Oh my God. What was I mean, but at first they don't like each other. She's just like, you're a scummy playboy douchebag, and then he's just like, and you're a stuck-up bitch. Like, it's basically like their whole like opinion on each other.
Well, she even tells him when they're finished their ride, she's like, well, I guess we're not gonna be friends, and then like they separate, and then it does a little like montage, and it's like this many years later.
Yeah, it's more. I mean, I wouldn't say that the stories are exactly there because like Sam and Diane are very much more closer together in like a more confined space. They don't get to leave and then come back.
Yeah.
But their relationship doesn't work out in the show either. They end up splitting. And then that show is one of the coolest finales, John. I don't know if I've ever talked about it on the podcast before yet, but the finale for Cheers is like 3 episodes long.
Okay.
And it deals with Sam coming to terms with his sex addiction. He's like, I'm a sex addict. This is a problem in my life. I cannot find love. I have no purpose. And he's having like an existential crisis, and it's him trying to figure it out. And then at the very end, like, it's like a last scene with him with all the regulars of the bar and him talking to all of them. And then Norm is the big fat guy that always shows up, leaves.
Right.
And he's just like, Sam, you've been looking for love all around and trying to find what your purpose is, and it's been right under your nose the whole time. And he looks at it, and it's the bar. And it's just like, and it's just how the show ends.
Right.
His true love is the bar.
Yeah. Being there for people, and like being that person that everyone knew was going to be there.
Yeah.
Like when they're having a bad day, they go into the bar and be like, bartender's here, I want to talk to him.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's just a good show. It's just good, and it's just all wholesome and whatnot. And I can't like every episode. There's some badass plays in that show too, where like there's like the bar rivalries with the rival bar, and then there's a pickpocket character that shows up often. He always steals things from people. And there's this whole like plot line where they're battling this bar, and then it like flips where the pickpocket goes over there and offers to like buy the bar to have it demolished, and like basically he basically makes off with the guy's money and has his bar demolished without him getting anything for it. It's super ridiculous.
Shit.
It's super funny. That's like the last like scene of that pickpocket guy is he like levels the other bar.
So what you're saying is it's not The Sopranos.
It's not The
Sopranos. That ended mid fucking sentence.
Dude, oh my god. Did The Sopranos end mid? It did, didn't it?
It did.
I actually just started. I do not like mob movies. I'm just like, I like the first Godfather is cool.
Yeah.
But I don't like other, like, I'm not really a big Goodfellas person, or I'm trying to do The Sopranos right now because I've heard it's amazing. I'm liking it so far, but it was hard for me to get into it first.
It is kind of a hard show to get into. Only because like we're so used to large TV budgets, and The Sopranos didn't have a huge budget. So like their sets are really limited. You only get to see like 3 or 4 different locations. And then the main character, he becomes really frustrating to like watch on screen because of like how he's trying to deal with going to therapy while being a mob boss.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, like that show just fucking, they didn't like wrap any loose ends up.
Yeah, just wasn't wrapped up very well.
They just fucking ended it, and people were pissed. They were like, "What is this?
Like, why would you end it that way? Like, you have this whole like let Tony get shot or something.
Yeah.
Like, let something happen."
I thought he was gonna like just kill his therapist. Like, I really thought.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think I should continue watching Sopranos? Do you think it's worth the like 11 season slog for that ending?
Honestly, no.
All right, cool. I'm gonna drop it
I think it's not like.
I'll watch something
I think
better.
If you want to watch a good show, like a really good show, if you haven't watched it already, you should watch The Wire.
I keep hearing that.
Yo,
I've never seen it. I've heard The Wire is amazing, and I just never have watched it.
The Wire is like when HBO was really getting their fucking money for making like their special TV shows. And The Wire just follows one of the main detectives. His name is Detective McNulty. He's a piece of shit. Like he's the
so
worst.
Down. I'm already interested.
He's the worst detective. Like he
doesn't
do his job well. He like doesn't care about other people. He's divorced from his wife and is trying to like take care of his kids while being an alcoholic on the police force. And so he's like, he gets thrown into trying to take down one of the main like gang drug lords in the city of Baltimore. Baltimore is already like a dangerous place to be because of like all the drugs that are going on. There's poverty. And so what he's dealing with is trying to like get into it. But he starts doing really like shady things to get some of the things that he gets out of the criminals, where he's like faking paperwork. He's like meeting with some of these people and like cutting deals. He's like essentially a dirty cop is what it turns into. And then you hate him, but then you also kind of don't want him to die like through the whole series, so you have this weird relationship with him. But like, man, the acting is crazy good in that. Like, you start caring about these characters so much when you're watching it, and the ending is amazing. Like, they had such a good like wrap up for that, and it's only like 5 seasons. So like they had a good time length for what everything and how everything plays out.
Oh yeah, I really like when series is just
they knew what they were doing with that one, so you should definitely watch.
Okay, I'll check out The Wire over The Sopranos
if you've got like, good amount of time. It's also like an HBO thing, so like it's good quality.
Yeah,
and then you'll see a bunch of people you recognize, like you've seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
So the captain. Black guy.
Oh yeah, awesome. Okay,
he's literally a police captain, but for real.
That's fucking
in The Wire.
Same voice and everything.
Yes. Yeah, very serious. But what's funny is his nickname in The Wire is Bunny. It's so great. Only other like top officials know him as that.
Big bluff black dude named Bunny.
It's super funny. Like he's in it. You'll recognize McNulty. He is. Do you remember 300? The movie 300?
Yes.
Do you remember the guy who he's like one of the other senators who basically tries to like fight the wife in the Senate? It's kind of fucked up. He actually ends up like assaulting her in that movie.
Yeah, definitely.
So that guy, that actor,
dude. Okay,
he is McNulty, and man, like you just love to hate him for most of the series. But they explore so many other side characters for it, like so his other members of other detectives. And they're murder police, so they like try to solve murders in Baltimore, which is almost like super impossible because they have so many murders coming through. But like one of the main things they discover, and like that becomes a main part of the series, is that they're finding dead bodies in abandoned houses, and they don't know who's putting them there. And they become like obsessed with trying to figure out who is the gang leader that is killing people and just dumping them in these houses. Wow. And so that's like the main overarching thing. They're trying to take down this drug lord that like they know of each other, and they keep playing this cat and mouse game all the way through it. So it's like I haven't enjoyed a show that much in like a good while. That might still be like one of my favorite shows.
Damn.
Yeah,
awesome.
Which is like crazy good. I think I watched it like really shortly after I watched Breaking Bad.
Oh god, that's another good one.
Which was another intense adventure, like going through all of that.
Yeah, it's
emotional.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Better Call Saul?
No, I did not actually.
You should watch it.
Was it actually good?
It's entertaining, and it's more like you get more filler and context for other characters in Breaking Bad. So you get to see how he becomes that lawyer and is like super dirty, basically. Yeah, like how he gets to that point and like who he owes money to and things like that. So it's a good one. I liked it. Man. But getting back to the movies, do you think that they should have ended like in a different way, or do you think the ending was appropriate for like how the relationship
I think that the message that both movies were trying to send was well represented by their conclusions. I definitely think that Chasing Amy wrapped up the ending of its movie with guess what? Your boy Holden still got a lot of shit to learn.
Yeah.
He's not ready for a relationship.
That was good though. They they definitely acknowledged that like you're not going to know absolutely everything after like one or two relationships.
Yep.
They're like, you're going to have to learn things about yourself and how you interact with people to really get into being in a serious relationship and like being honest and open, which I think they both kind of touched on.
Yeah, they definitely both. And then, and I think that Harry Met Sally definitely played itself up as like a 12-year long journey of these two people finding love through interaction and finding it through like a common place and through like individual growth on both of their parts as well. So that's also what make that movie really special. And its ending, perfect conclusion for how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, definitely. They both came out to it, and I felt good about the endings, even if because I'm always like, things don't always have to have a super happy ending.
No. But
also I think that's just me as a writer. I like tragic endings.
Yeah, same. Like tragic endings can be good. It just depends on, does the story need to end that way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does the story call for it? Or I mean, usually whenever you're writing something, you may already know how it's going to end. You may already know where you want the story to go.
Well, I mean, like the story I was telling you about yesterday, like the character's not gonna survive. Like almost from the beginning, I knew like she's definitely gonna die, and like for me, it ends up being like, how are they gonna sort of get there to that point, and like how are you gonna feel about it?
Yep.
but it's like it almost became distressing to me because like some other author commented on it, but like as soon as you like give a name to the character and you start fleshing out their story and then writing them through and then getting to a sort of end like that, it is like a weirdly emotional thing where you're like, oh man, like this character's gonna die and like I'm gonna be the one to kind of set up how that goes. And so it was a weird experience to like know for sure that one of the characters is gonna die and just like how it's gonna play out. But like I also decided that like they're not gonna have any sort of love interest, like through the whole thing they're not gonna have any love interest. And if they do, if I decide I want to have something like that, they're gonna end up being friends, like really platonic friendship, and like they understand that it's not a good moment, like in the middle of whatever like saga that they're going through. So it's like I think that's something that these writers definitely acknowledged when they were going through it, and they did it really well. And so it's like I like the conclusions like that. But yeah, shit, these were good movies. I'm glad we decided to like break away a little bit to do
to do a nice little I would consider this like a special.
I was thinking like maybe like every 10 episodes or something we'll do like
a special non-horror episode.
We'll break away and do a non-horror, like we can do like other genres that are like
absolutely. I mean I like film in general, so
exactly.
So film is great.
And it's usually like it's one of the easier ones, at least for me too, because I'm studying film. So it's like I already take a bunch of classes for it.
Absolutely. It was like film like has a lot to analyze too, and sometimes has a lot to say. And sometimes, to be honest, man, I mean, I like horror. I like the stylisticness of horror, and I like it. But sometimes horror is really short on its themes and having like a point. Sometimes, like sometimes sometimes.
This is why I like what's happening now with horror in regards to like say like Jordan Peele, who's like literally making new genres and themes that are connected to horror.
Yeah, he's experimenting.
He's totally doing experimental film, and like it's crazy to see experimental film like happening now, and it's not like a part of your curriculum like in a class where you're like, check out this person, they were like cutting edge in their time.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing that stuff, and now we're getting to see it, and he's like spreading out, like he's fucking the host of the Twilight Zone. Like he's doing like these movies. He wants to do like an adaptation of like Gargoyles, and then like is gonna do
Gargoyles.
He wants to do
when is he doing Gargoyles?
Probably after he does his next project.
Fucking Gargoyles should be his next project,
right?
Like stop it, just make Gargoyles.
He's
like
so
what
ready.
Are you doing?
He's mentioned it numerous times. No, you know what he's working on now? He's making a movie about Nazi hunters.
Damn.
So he's making a movie about so basically after World War II, when some of the high-ranking officials escaped and went to like South America and shit like that. Yep. He's making a movie about the guys who hunted them down.
That's crazy.
And I was like, yo, that's going to be such a good movie for him to do something like that. I was like, yeah. So
if you do like a really cool, like dramatized version of it where they're like seeking out like the information and make it all like, it could be a badass movie. That sounds like that could be really cool.
I just watched a short film in one of my classes that talks about one of the high-ranking officials that went to South America. I think he went to Argentina. And it's a short film about the Israeli agents that went and found him.
Damn.
And it's so good. I believe it's called The Car is Red, which is like their secret code they basically sent like a telegraph back to Israel to let them know that like the mission was a go, that they had found him, and then proceed to like kidnap him and sneak him out of the country and bring him back to Israel to stand for like crimes against humanity. Like legit crimes against humanity. Is so good.
Super good.
So before we like wrap things up, I did want to also ask, was there any other romantic comedies that were like on the short list? Like what else have you seen that you wanted to maybe talk about them?
I think I mentioned Love Potion number 9.
Yeah.
Not long ago. That's just a fun, goofy ass movie. And it's just silly, man. And it's just like, and I love how chaotic that movie gets when the Love Potion gets given to the public.
Right.
And whatnot. So that was one of them that I could think of. And I'm also not really a huge rom-com guy. Like if it's going to be a romantic comedy, it better be deep or have a little bit of depth to it. I can't I'm not going to do this like when Polly met Polly, that Jennifer Aniston, whatever that movie was,
Along Came Polly.
Was that what it was? Along Came Polly.
That was really weird.
Is it? I don't know. And then, like I don't know, man. It's like some of them are okay and some of them are just kind of dumb, and I don't know. But like Chasing Amy is one I could think of, and Love Potion number 9 I had a lot of fun watching. To be honest,
it's a good one. I almost wanted to do The Princess Bride.
Ooh.
Just
wait a minute. That's like an adventure rom-com.
Yeah, it's totally like it's like.
Wait, whoa! Why didn't we?
I felt like it's super common.
Yeah, maybe
like
it's
people
too
know
common.
a lot about it.
Yeah.
It's got like a huge cult following.
Yeah, everyone knows about The Princess Bride.
And so just going through it like once more would be kind of like repetitive. I think.
It's too many people already talking about it.
I know when Harry Met Sally, like it was popular in its time, but now enough years have passed where people probably don't know much about it. Even like telling you about it, you hadn't seen it yet. So.
I heard the name, but I'd never watched the movie.
Right.
So, but yeah, it was very good. I was very happy to have actually seen that movie.
The other one I was really thinking of, which was like it's kind of pushing the boundaries and like lines of what you would consider like romantic, kind of. So it's not a comedy, but it is like a very romantic story, and it was Cloud Atlas.
Oh wow, Cloud Atlas is
because of like the continuous love story that they have in multiple lives throughout the series, and just how well done the acting was for like one actor to play like 5 different characters.
Yeah,
and they all did it. The whole cast did it, and they did it really well. Like to see all of them play these characters was nuts.
Yeah, no, Cloud Atlas is a very, 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 very interesting movie. It was one of our watches in my dystopian literature class.
Dystopian.
Yeah,
well, you know what it is. Yeah,
there's a lot of dystopian elements in that movie. Like pretty much like all of the paths they go to have a little bit of dystopia in them.
Yeah.
Kinda. So it's like, but it's kind of loose though. I would say it's kind of loose in that genre. It could be like sci-fi, and then it's got the love story too.
Right.
My favorite part of that movie, being a caregiver, is that there's the entire like scene with all the old people that like bust out and go to the bar, and I really just want to take that movie and then cut out all those parts and then just make one short film that's just that and have them all go to the.
You should write it. You should write.
I know, right?
You should write a story about like people in a home where they need some assistance.
That plan a breakout.
Yeah, that's funny. It's a good concept.
It would be funny. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they can just like go to some place, go to a bar, go to a club.
Mm-hmm. These old people that get out to live one last day.
Yep.
It sounds like such a cheesy comedy, but it's like
totally.
But you could get like a bunch of like old actors from back in the day to just play themselves in retirement homes.
Exactly. That'd be great. I mean, like I'm writing a story about a dude who steals his dog back from his ex-boyfriend. Like his little chihuahua. Yeah, that's the story I'm writing right now. It's hilarious. Like they break up, the dog stays with him, and then like he's like one night is drinking with his friends. He's like, fuck, I'm gonna go steal my dog back.
Oh, you sent me this script.
Yeah, I sent you the first draft of it. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, okay, gotcha. And he steals the dog, but he wants to throw the rock through the window, and
there's so much stuff. I'm totally gonna I'm gonna rewrite it so that there's more time spent in the house and everything.
Yeah,
but it'll be funny.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So just like a reminder to everybody that we're super easy to find. You can find us on all of the streaming sites. So like the main ones, so like iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music. We're on iHeartRadio as of like a couple weeks ago, so that was cool. And then of course we have the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, things like that, where you can message us ideas, interact with us. We're always logged in on it, so we can respond whenever we want to engage in some conversation. And thanks for coming out to talk to me tonight, Mitch. I hope everyone has a good night.
Have a good day.